Hello, hello. Welcome to the season 83 SBA Offseason review slash preview slash outlook episode. It's not necessarily set in stone what the aim and goal and result of this presentation will be, as we're still sort of in the middle of the SBA offseason. As of recording time, it's local time evening, Wednesday, so early afternoon in the United States, or even closer to noon in the Western United States. So some information here in the presentation might be outdated by the time you hear this, which is a shame, but not like we could do much better. And by we, I mean me, myself here, and of course, I have with me Nepto. Hello.
Hello, everyone. Still the same old team year after year.
Not sure if we even go with this draft presentation. I'm not sure if we made these in last year. Yeah, I guess we must have started like a year ago at this point already. So yeah,
You might have, I think it was like 70 something, so
yeah. It says here
six
the raw
seasons already a
recording.
year.
Yeah, raw recording is from 22nd of August 2023. So already a full year in the books. Hey,
So it's anniversary time.
yeah,
Hey!
anniversary show. Play the copyright claim. Yeah. Um, of course, the entry draft is already in the books, as some of you may have seen in the SBA forum, as well as the picks being input into the scene flow and thus being pronounced on the Discord server as well. So what you see on the screen right now is the first 8 picks of the past entry draft. We'll get through the rest of the first 22 picks momentarily, but first I'm gonna ask a few questions about this one. Did you, Nepto, have in mind a player that was like bona fide number one for this draft, or do you think it was like fair to just again sort of select based on need? There was a lot of discourse in the draft thread about maybe Kiana and Marcus or Certified Boogeyman being well deserving of the number one pick, but in the end it ended up being Amina Al Sada to the Philadelphia Prowlers.
I don't think there's a bona fide number one pick, like unquestionably anonymously picked here. I think there's a couple of good players, very specific role players, I guess. But if that fits your team, then that's more worthy of number one than someone who's going to be a superstar. So, in my opinion, fair game to select whatever the need is. How about you? Did you have any favorites going into the draft?
I really like both the presenters' ideas for first pick as well, Kiana and Marku and Certified Boogeyman. I also do like Amin Al Sada Pandar player agency going back to Philadelphia after so many players have of his has stopped by in Philadelphia, and in the past he also used to be the general manager for the Philadelphia Prowlers. So a long tradition of Panther players playing in the red and, well, that's not red, orange and blue colors of Philadelphia. But I can't necessarily select between the two. Like, of course, there's town business, center slash power forward. That seems like a gimme take, but it all depends on the opportunity presented. And for Philadelphia, they have a fairly shored up front court, especially in the past few seasons where Bert Macklin has been biding the time in on the bench. So not sure. On the screen, a couple of the players selected are notif or whatever the word is. The team they have signified being selected by, they do not necessarily play for that team or start the upcoming season with that team, as there was a multitude of trades in the entry draft and after the entry draft. So Kiana and Marku actually turns out for the Las Vegas Jokers, whereas Certified Boogeyman will be suiting up for the Boston Minutemen unless nothing further changes in the offseason. Then the distributor and Bob Gregory basically swapped places for future assets going Las Vegas's way. So distributor will be in Las Vegas Jokers colors, and Danny Zahavi, I think, for Philadelphia Prowlers, which is interesting for Sixers fan as well to be part of Philadelphia. And DB DeBrat is one who will be remaining on the team selected, as DB is also the general manager for the Brooklyn Bullets, so that's nice. And Rob Banks also will be playing for the Montreal Monarchs. So yeah, I'm not gonna go through the rest of them one by one. You can, and of course, most of you have already retained this information from the draft presentation. But instead, I'll ask Nepto what teams, or what did you think about the teams going all out with a lot of trades, a lot of positioning, getting, I wouldn't say any of the teams who made moves and selected players high up would be disappointed with what they came away from the draft with. But what was your opinion on the amount of transactions around the SBA draft of season 83?
I have to be honest, I lost track at some point. So I'm not fully aware who now in the end moved where, which asset moved where. I think we have seen a bit of an uptick in trades in recent years. At least it feels like it, especially around draft day. Usually it was around the same GMs, and I think we had some segments in the past presentations where like, okay, they have Texas and a trade involving a Mullins, which to my knowledge did not happen this time.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
So we're innovating here. But yeah, I think it's a lot of moves. If doing a move just for the sake of doing a trade is actually worth it, I'm not always sure. But I think in the end, especially higher up, the teams loading up on good rookies like the Jokers were doing. They have a very, very good, but also quite young team now. If they're able to keep them together, I mean, that's going to work out great for them.
Yeah,
So
I think for the Jokers especially, just 3 out of the 4 or 5 players that they have would be plenty enough for a very long-term outlook. But it's better to start with too many than too few, for sure. I guess a lot of the trades and the other transactions, well, not sure what other transactions would there be other than draft picks and trades, but the trades surrounding the draft goes to show how many of these, let's say like 9 to 20 players, were still valued so highly that uncertain and certain assets both were given up in exchange for rookies who are between 350 and 500 TP only. So it goes to show that there's a lot of trust in these specific set of rookies, which is nice. There's on the screen right now, there's Jackson Young being selected 13th overall, and returning 15 Nation with James Knight Jr. selected 14th overall. So a lot of players who the general manager seemed to be excited about, which is very good, of course. Instead of
I'm honestly very surprised to see James Knight Jr. only going this low.
Yeah.
Given that it's 15 Nation, I mean, he had some great players in the past. But yeah, also always love it when first gen players get the time to shine and the trust put in them. a bit higher than the recreates. So that's nice to see as well.
Yeah, I can't remember the name of the player in between Damian Janishevsky and James Knight, the senior.
I don't think he. You mean AX Phoenix?
Yes. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
the.
Okay.
Yeah, so yeah, plenty of quality players in there. So just only being selected 14th and interesting characters and interesting players ahead of James Knight Jr., which, yeah, I agree. It's a bit surprising, although a lot of highly valuable players in there. In the tail end of the first round, we also saw a couple of passes already, which was interesting as this draft was being portrayed as one having like 29 players to select from, which in one way or another would come to pass. But yeah, Montreal Monarchs, especially here on the screen, very set in their team building ahead of time and just, I guess, got players free of charge instead of using draft picks. Yeah. Who did you think is the? Well, I guess you alluded to the Las Vegas Jokers being very strongly positioned now, but is there anything else you want to shout out from as a success story, player or team level in this past entry draft?
Not a particular player or team, but we have a lot of new guards coming in, which I'm sure GMs will be delighted to, because the point guard and especially the point guard pool has been shallow these last few seasons. And also, we get some new nice small forwards, which I think is, for example, James Knight Jr., which is going to play on your team, which I think you won't mind as well, to have someone at the small forward position, so your player doesn't swing down there anymore.
Oh yeah, that's nice. I didn't really
You
think
didn't
of that.
notice so
Yeah,
far,
yeah,
did you?
yeah.
um, no, the only other thing is I'm intrigued to see Sixers back in the SBA.
Again.
As some may have noticed, we all don't have a lot of GMs on the short list, on the wait list. So if he now feels that itch again, that could also bring some spice into the next couple of drafts and seasons. But yes, I think that's my main takeaways from this draft.
Yeah, I think just based on the fact that I think Sixers is doing season pass sort of stuff, I don't think there's much interest to take up being a general manager as for someone who's been successful at it and spend a lot of time working on it. Doing it sort of half-assedly is some people won't go for it, where you either gotta sort of give it your all and be like fully crazy about it, or then just don't do it at all. But I would as well be very interested in seeing that. There also was one interesting thing. Dusty Wilson was selected to the Arizona Inferno as well. So congratulations to Dusty if you're listening, and if you care for my congratulations. But that was nice to see back in the Arizona Inferno colors after a couple of. Let's actually see how many seasons
I
spent
think it
somewhere
hasn't
else.
been that many seasons, right, since Cole Foster was on the Inferno.
Yeah, but like, Ben Lass is already like year 4 or 5, and he hasn't been there. Let's check it out. So
Yeah, but might
76.
be a couple years, because he played around the same time as JFJ back then. So
Yeah, season 76. So it's basically a year at this point, more than a year actually. Sort of in there. Yeah. Now only if there was David Smith, player named David Smith, that'd be very cool. Yeah. What the main part of our programming is supposed to be is going to be a sort of recapping the off season, which we already started doing in a way, even before we started recording, which was interesting. Always sort of goes that way if we ever talk about like doing notes or preparation or what's been interesting related to the SBA. We basically give away the show even before the show starts, which is bad but also fun.
So if you pay for
Yeah,
the
subscribe on
season pass
Patreon.
premium, you get VIP background access to the real recap 10 minutes before everyone else.
Patreon.com/Emidas. That's actually a real thing, so don't go unless you want to support Emidas. Don't go there to support our streams. Just instead ask me for my PayPal and I'll give all the value added after tax portions to Nepto. Yeah, the offseason recap now expanded with 2 more teams. Well, I guess last season we already had the 2 more teams, but 22 teams of the SBA, all with a massive draft like this, must have underwent some changes. Well, is the Charlotte Aviators logo missing? Yeah. This is a very interesting image now that I look at it. There's 2 Prowlers, there's 2 Knights.
So they all got a farm team now.
Yeah, but I guess that's right.
They didn't have enough spots for the centers anymore in Philadelphia. They needed a second team.
Yeah, because I was going to make a joke about how Charlotte Aviators necessarily didn't do much in terms of roster movement. So it's very funny that there is no Charlotte Aviators now on this screen right here. So Philadelphia's moves, just being worthy of the first overall pick, gave them the second logo spot on the screen here. But yeah, we're going to talk about most of the teams, at least even for the teams we don't necessarily need to spend time on. We're going to say we don't need to spend time on them. So shout outs to Charlotte Aviators already ahead of time, having spent extra time on just looking out for their logos. But yeah, I think this is going to be alphabetical order based on location or home area of the team. So up next, first we're going to have the Arizona Inferno. I have it on very strong authority that the departure screen and the addition screen is going to be outdated. Maybe not by the time this comes out, but by season start, as there's a lot of machinations behind closed doors to get my player Malone Freeman traded once again from Arizona.
So now you're giving up all your leverage on the live presentation.
Yeah, well,
that's what I call sacrificing for content.
I've already given all my leverage away by being 700 TP. But yeah, there is I'm not sure like which crop of players it's going to be in the starting lineup on opening night for Arizona, but apparently there is not a starting spot remaining for me in Arizona, and there might be somewhere else, and there might also be other opportunities anywhere else. Just depends on what trade gets worked out between the two teams. I'm not part of that thing. I'm just part of my player having a virtual non-trade clause. But there is another departure of very much of note with Corkscrew. And Corkscrew is, I
on
guess,
the Ravens now.
No, he was on the Ravens, and now he's on the Ocelots.
He's on, Mexico.
Yeah.
Same thing, but different, you know.
Well, don't see 26 or 29 banners on the Ocelots. But
that's
yeah.
Sad cat.
No, it's not sad anymore. They won, right? So.
All right.
Yeah, because they won once. Cat? Yeah. I'm not sure. Let's see what the logo is like. I think it's ambivalent at. It's just prowling. But that's another thing. Yeah, Corkscrew headed to the Mexico City Ocelots, and I'm just gonna give it away already here. Malone Freeman's destination, one of the destinations, is also talked about as Mexico City, which makes it very interesting that moving both of the players of this sort of same archetype, but Corkscrew being slightly better, to the same team with already starting players at the center and power forward positions. I don't know what to make of it, but it's interesting nonetheless. So I'm gonna be on the lookout for how next season unfolds if I get to play there. But in terms of other additions to the Arizona Inferno, they were all drafted players, with Bob Gregory, Jackson Young, and Damian Patrick. Anything to note on these rookies here? I already spoke about two of them, but do you think it's nice to sort of have these three young players to start off your future maybe rebuild plans while you still have also?
Yeah, pretty much looks like a rebuild plan. Also, with Grafenberg now finally seeming too old to be a top guy. Which felt like he was quite good for 10 seasons now already. But yeah, I think they also mesh really well. That's a lot of good defense for young players that I'm seeing on them. So I think that's a good start, good foundation to kick off the rebuild.
Yeah, I'm hoping that the whatever comes up next with Arizona, there's been a long sort of running issue with the club that it's very good but not good enough to win a
Not that
championship.
good.
Yeah, or even make it to the finals. So I'm hoping this, if not better, makes them at least as good, fairly firmly successful as they've been in the past. Next, we have the Boston Minutemen, who missed out on the playoffs last year, but added interesting players with the mentioned certified boogeyman, also Iggy Hendricks in trade with Houston, and Jehu King and October Moore.
What did Houston get in return?
I think it's only a draft pick.
Okay.
I'm gonna go look over that, but then meanwhile you can give us your thoughts on the past few seasons of production from Tetsuro Tsukishima. And now that he's headed away.
Say, yeah, the first 4 seasons were a bit disappointing. I think I expected more defensive impact for what he can do. Not sure if that was on a team makeup or game plan level, why he couldn't reach that. And now that he wins the Defensive Player of the Year, he instantly gets shipped out. So maybe he knew all along and just didn't want to get traded. Boston seems to be wanting to replace him with someone very similar with Boogeyman and continue to play around Grant and Brando. I think in the preseason ranking, the GM of the Boston Minutemen said, well, we sort of overrated Boston last year, but I'm sure they will do better this year. I'm not 100% convinced yet. Hendricks is a great pickup. King is still a good all-around player. But I don't think their issue last season really was the defense, it was the offense. At least to compete with the real playoff teams. So let's see if that changes this season. I know. How do you feel about Brando and Grant as an offensive duo last season?
Last season, not enough, of course. It was proven. This upcoming season, it's always bound to change somewhat as the opposition changes, your player talent gets stronger. I don't necessarily know about Iggy Hendricks as a supporting player. I think even for all the success they've had with him in playing in Houston and previously in, I think, Mexico, there's still, I think, fairly overrated as a player. There's 99 passing, which is nice, but yeah, it's just a player. I can't say
Yeah, he
anything
won't
more.
win them games on
Yeah,
his
yeah,
own.
yeah. It's just part of the machine, and for a 4 million player, it's interesting to be just part of the machine. But again, I guess that's also what.
I mean, Lopez has been virtually the same.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah. I was gonna say that's also what Corkscrew and Miguel Lopez is. So, not sure. Yeah, it's a changing cap environment, but maybe they would need something like Jay Hooking from 2 or 3 seasons ago instead of Caleb Grant from now. But you couldn't have Jay Hooking 2 or 3 seasons ago, of course. So I don't know. I'm firmly in the camp of wait and see with Boston. Brando is good, but nearly no one is good just to be good enough to be just a one-man team anyway anymore. So I don't think it's gonna happen in Boston either. And for Tsukishima, yeah, I quite agree with what you said there about now leaving being interesting, but sometimes you can't also fault it because maybe you are not in charge of it completely yourself.
no, definitely not.
Yeah, I
And I
wasn't
mean, he's
able to.
also in the same area now. He has a huge cap hit for someone that's basically just part of the machine. What you just mentioned. So
Yeah, yeah, but I guess if the metrics and whatever else were created for SBA is to be trusted, having the most valuable defensive player in the league is basically the same as having the most valuable offensive or two-way player in the league because it's part of the game and it's a massive part of the game anyway. So yeah, debatable if it actually is how valuable it is to have the best defensive player and how things will change in a new uniform. But I sure hope they aren't going to go any worse for Fukushima in Montreal, where I think he ended up eventually.
I think he's in Montreal now.
Yeah, traded for a certified boogeyman. Yeah. Yeah. I couldn't find the Iggy Hendricks return. The trade posted in the forum is just empty return, so it's part of some multi-team trade, and I don't have the patience to scroll through 15 pages of the draft right now. So apologies for not writing that out, typing that up ahead of time. Then we turn to the Brooklyn Bullets. I'm not gonna turn into the Brooklyn Bullets. Finished with a fairly middling record of 32-50 last season. A lot of it was just, as we talked about on the draft show for multiple years now, or a couple of years now with Brooklyn, it's just positioning for the future, and it's basically all the same once again for another off season, adding a rookie and a bench guy very well into regression is not going to basically change their fortunes one way or another. It's all going to be about internal improvement from the previous rookies and Volcano Sharp, who's already headed into year 5 in Brooklyn, I think. But yeah, one quick question and then a normal question. Do you like the Brooklyn Bullets logo, the one on the screen right now? I think it's ingenious, and I've talked about this for 5 years at least now, but it's very, very nice.
I think we talked about it on some old 5 of the Week episode once. Around the bullets swirling around the middle.
Yeah.
And it being really nice.
Yeah, and the bullet.
I think it's way better than. Have you ever seen the alternate logo?
Yeah. I've seen all
Big
of
bullet.
it over time. Yeah. Just yeah. But yeah, this is also as the back of the cartridge. I don't know if it's the cartridge. I think it's a cartridge, or just the bullet. But it also has the basketball grooves in it, which is very nice. Yeah, I swear, like, I don't know what the grooves that go in 12 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 6 o'clock, and 9 o'clock, they have these sort of stubs that make them look like baseball bats, sort of cut off on the end.
Yeah, or it might be the
Stanchion?
I don't know the English word for this. I could say it in German right now. But yeah, the visor, so that also might be it. I'm not entirely sure.
Yeah, I swear for the next 5 years as well, I'm gonna just find some hidden Easter eggs in this logo just that I couldn't believe before. Like, next they're gonna say the B, if you turn it 90 degrees on its side, it's gonna look like the Brooklyn Bridge, and I'm gonna be like, whoa, oh my god, whoa. But yeah, then the normal question: do you think the Bullets are still on the right track? Because nothing's necessarily changed for them, right? Oh, they also added
Yeah,
Bugs Bunny over the off-season period here. It's not mentioned in the screen here apparently, but yeah, they also added Bugs Bunny.
I think they are on the right track. I mean, one of their rookies just won Rookie of the Year, if I didn't misread that earlier today.
Yes.
They still have the same team makeup that we talked about last year in depth, about some builds that could mesh really well and enable one type of scorer. I think it's on Sharp to make the next step as a scorer in terms of efficiency, and the rest of the team to help him out on defense. And then they could get some good success in the next couple of years before the young guns then grow into their own and take over the team.
Yeah. I think the young guns have already taken over the team, and if they haven't, they should. Just because there's no other guns. But
I mean,
especially
there's Sharp, and he's entering his prime soon. So
yeah. But Sharp is still like, before proven otherwise, he's still a young gun waiting to take over as well. Yeah,
fair
it's
enough.
just not the same as the other younger gunners. But yeah, MRI machine I think is just gonna be a disposable sort of bench player, basically what it was in Vancouver last season.
Yeah,
Later, when we get to the other teams that had rookies, highly touted rookies last year, we're gonna talk about the Rookie of the Year award, what you think of that, but we're gonna table that for later, as we're gonna move into the Charlotte Aviators. Here we go. Oft forgotten, and I don't have anything sufficient to continue with that, just oft forgotten. Last season, didn't even manage to tank to the worst record, as the Joker stole the 8-74.
did the Aviators even have a pick this season? I don't believe so, right?
Well, regardless, you
They still
can.
were missing their first round pick because it got traded for probably a Mullins, to be honest.
Yeah, but you can't tell me they aim to win 73 games. That's what I'm saying. They more aim to lose 73 games. But yeah, I'm thinking that's the selection that went to Philadelphia anyway. So that would make sense that it was between the Mullins. Not really any roster movement. I'm just gonna check out and see if that's changed at the time of recording.
Well, they had one selection draft, so
They had? Oh, Wingding, right? Yeah. So not really any. It just goes to show how much production cares for our dear rookies here. But yeah, not available Wingding was selected in the entry draft. Other than that, it doesn't look like there's sort of basically any movement, like it says there. Jill Mahomes still on the team, Gabriel Dubois and Prince Draco still on the team, heading into their year 2 of their careers. Yeah, hopefully Wingding sticks around and really shows the production crew what they're made out of, and sticks it to them. But we're gonna move on. As a rarity, we're gonna move on quickly of the Charlotte Aviators. Then the other finalists of the season 82 SBA playoffs, the Chicago Nightmare, who lost in the SBA finals, of course. Drumroll, please. Yes.
Unfortunately.
Major departures here are as Joseph Zikov, and additions are as Shay Arthur. Not sure how Shay Arthur snuck into the screen here, but not available wingdings was lost in the previous screen. But do you have inside information on what about Zikov? Did Zikov retire, or was he just
No,
moved on
it's
from?
just the cap thing. So it
Oh
wasn't a
yes,
plan for him to leave the team at all, but
yeah.
the team was $500,000 over the cap, so someone had to go,
Mm.
uh, which is a shame because he will sorely be missed. He also had a great playoff uh, run in general.
Yeah, we did.
So let's see if the young guys can pick up the slack for him at power forward.
Yeah, I'm
Because
sure.
Remus obviously doesn't need any help at center, you know. He's
Yeah,
just
don't help.
just throwing that out there.
Yeah. Yeah, I forgot that Austin Evermore is also year 7. Or I guess I rather forgot that Ray LaFleur is year 7 because I very vividly remembered Austin Evermore being that much older than my player. But yeah, that's a shame in a way because I'm not going to say it was like an iconic uh, starting lineup, uh, especially at times when it was Hank Dagger. I guess Hank Dagger played like 30 games, but he started in the playoffs. I think, yeah, just at least the parts that I read and
Yeah, I
presented.
think
Yeah,
he
yeah, yeah.
he
He started
started
all
some
the
games
playoffs.
under the year and then again in the playoffs for a bit.
Yeah, yeah. I'm not gonna go as far as to say it was an iconic starting lineup with Lafleur, Evermore, Dagger, Zikov, and Urbanus, but it was one of the most successful nightmare lineups of I don't know, three and a
The
half
last
real
40
life
years. I
years.
mean, I
Yeah,
think it was pretty much 40 seasons now since the last Nightmare Finals.
yeah.
Or it might have been 43, so almost.
42 or 43 years, yeah. So that's half the league history. So yeah, in a sense, it definitely is an iconic lineup then. But hopefully things will be even better in the future. Yeah, Shea Arthur is a year 2 power forward slash center, just as additional insurance in those positions, only at 399 TP at this point. So not gonna be gunning for a starting spot anytime soon unless there's some sort of strategical niche I'm missing out on. But yeah, Chicago look poised to maybe reach 60 wins again next season. What do you think?
Not so sure yet. We will see. Depends a bit on how things shake out over the offseason on the other teams.
Well, yeah, like I alluded to, there's more. But what you're gonna get here is all that we
More.
know as of yet. But wait, there's more. Speaking of more, there's more teams to go through, and here are the Chicago Nightmares finals
What a
opponents.
beautiful transition.
What a beautiful screen this is! Just mwah. Houston Ravens, 65 and 17 last season, won the regular season, I'm pretty sure, and won the SBA finals, so President's Trophy and Larry O'Brien Trophy. Departures already mentioned Iggy Hendricks, replaced by Folarin Osaze, also familiar of the draft screens earlier. Do you have an opinion on this crunch sort of interesting thing that they got going on in Houston now? Since three top TP players are all center eligible, and of 4 their top TP players, all are either center or power forward eligible. So,
Well,
do
I'm
you think
pretty
there
sure
are
that
moves
Arunas
coming?
is not going to sacrifice many minutes in this rotation in
Yeah,
any
for
way,
sure.
because he's their offensive guy and he's going to be fed every ball that he needs. So I mean, as long, especially on the power forward, as Sharp and Bosic are fine sharing those. Or Bocic, sorry. I find sharing that minutes. I guess it can work out because their other role players are just very TPE efficient. I'm still not convinced of the point guard center build in general, to be honest. Doesn't feel like there's a lot of overlap going on there, but I think he will stay at point guard for 90% of the season, anyways.
Yeah, I think it would have been different if there was no Arunas, because Alan Richmond has been on the team for longer than Arunas has been, or
Yeah.
Anus,
Yeah.
as he's familiarly known. But yeah, that's. I think it's just sort of fun thing to try out when you created your player. I'm not sure if Pierre knew he was going to play for the Houston Ravens for first of 4 seasons, if not more. So of course the center eligibility is not going to help you that much. So in a way, you're like sacrificing half of your positional eligibility, and for what, I don't know. But yeah, it's also interesting that for the longest time, top teams like Houston and whatever else have been known for like possible like versatility, but now they're also like very rigidly stuck to a lineup where you have Allen Richmond, Adeyemi, Bonky, Sharp, and Urbona starting, and Bosic on the bench if Sharp is starting. And I guess you can add like the rookie Folaren Osage at either shooting guard or small forward, but it's not much versatility. What do you think about that?
No, it's not a lot of positional versatility, but let's say players, especially on the perimeter, maybe with the exception of Allen Richmond because he's quite a bit older, are very interchangeable for the Ravens. I don't think it matters who of them is on the court, really. It's all about if Arunas is on the court. And
yeah, I guess if Arunas is off the court, they're gonna basically maybe lose anyway. I don't know. Sharp is
not necessarily lose, but they turn into the Miami Vice of the last couple of seasons. So they just chuck a couple of threes and hope they land.
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting. Do you think Houston are also primed to be in the 60 wins again next season? Have they been weakened at all or no?
Not really.
Yeah.
If we at least not doesn't feel to me. I don't know if you see it differently, but it's just
no, like if
placing one pass first guy with another.
Yeah, if we stand behind whatever our projections and analysis of Iggy Hendrix was, then it means this didn't change much at all. So of course I'm gonna stand behind it and gonna say things are gonna be much of the same. Meet the new boss, same as the old boss. Again in the SBA Finals, Houston Ravens. May it live long for eternity. Blah blah. Something that did not live long for an eternity was the Las Vegas Jokers, and here they were after being forced to tear down almost everything, if not everything. Can't remember the filler situation, but their record last season, they finished with 8 wins and 74 losses, like I mentioned earlier. Definitely did not make the playoffs, but were able to select high quality rookies in the draft. It's also again missing one of those eventual rookies here on the screen, is it not? Or no, it was subsequently traded, Bob Gregory or whatever. Yeah. Anyways, departed Gabriel Finley. For the life of me, even though I must have at some point added Gabriel Finley into the game, I don't know who that is, so I'm sorry. Maybe Gabriel Finley is a rookie that was selected and traded, so that means I've never seen Gabriel Finley play at all. But
I don't think so.
Is Gabriel Finley a real player?
Situation, but I don't think so.
No, it says Gabriel Finley started 82 games for the Las Vegas Jokers last season. Huh, that's very interesting. Yeah, so in addition to creating or adding the player into the game, I have at some point set Finley into the positional depth chart. Yeah, all right. Also, leaving Las Vegas was Ivan Ivanov. This must be about the time that Ivan Ivanov retires. Uh, this was, yeah, Ivan Ivanov has retired. This
Yeah.
was something I wanted to bring up with the point guards coming into the league, but wasn't really able to. Is that anytime there's a position that's direly in need of players, you have these hang around players like Ivan Ivanov play for like all right teams or start for bad teams for, I don't know, 7, 8, 9 years. And hats off to Ivanov on a Hall of Lame career. And hope life treats Ivan better in the greener pastures of retirement. What's more important, though, is the additions of Stanley Licht and Kianan Marku and Distributor, as mentioned earlier. You alluded to Distributor being, when you talked about Sixers fan returning to the league, have you had a chance to check out a Distributor specifically?
I'm not sure if you have to check it out really, because it sounds like he's going to pass the ball a lot. But maybe let's check him out. No, it's not just passing. Oh, that's a surprise. Yeah, then let's see. It looks like it's going to be a more offensive inclined point guard, maybe similar to Wick. So the last player of Sixers. I'm not sure. How do you see him developing?
How do I see him developing is that there's going to be no jump shot until ever. And I was going to say there's going to be high levels of defensive rebounding in the vein of, or rebounding in general, in the vein of Alex Calderon, but rebounding attributes are capped at 70 and 80. So, how I see it developing is all hand in hand with how the team grows, because you can't be the number one guy or even the number two guy with Mitch and possibly Marku on the team, and especially now to start the career with if Lichti is starting for whatever reason. That's no good. So
That's no good.
that's no good. So I think it's just going to be a pretty tailor-made point guard, offensive point guard, able to do much of everything. Is going to drive inside too much. He's going to draw key fouls in the playoffs. He's going to have career 29.6% jump shooting percentage, and is going to be a two-time SBA second team player. That's basically.
It's a very specific prediction you're making here.
Yeah, well, you asked, so
yeah, I just wasn't
my-
expecting such a detailed answer, especially for the all SBA team selections.
So the all SBA teams was more impressive than predicting the career jump shot percentage. But yeah, I guess one is easier to predict than the other sometimes. Yeah, I think it's gonna be fair, and not to gloss over Kiana and Marku of the Cassie F6. Nobody ever says that. That must be the first time anyone's ever said that out loud. Cassie F6. Cassie's player agency, yeah, a strong shooting guard slash small forward. I think what's interesting is once again we have a player of this positional archetype or positional eligibility going into the SBA with high passing. So I don't know. Maybe I'm washed up and don't know the trends, or then this is all just like min maxing for best possible team results and maybe best leg up on the award races too. So, but yeah, a good player. I like Marku slightly better just because it's a real name and it's not a point guard. But I do like Distributor as well in comparison. Anything else on the Jokers? That's
No, I think
yeah,
we've talked about them quite a bit.
yeah, over the long whatever. Up next is the Los Angeles Rush. They've lost in the second round versus the Philadelphia Prowlers in what was characterized in some circles as an upset. Don't know if it was necessarily that upsetting, but well, I'm sure.
I would see it as an upset. I mean, I expected the Rush to be the best team going into the season based off their defense.
Yeah, yeah.
That never really materialized. There were stretches during the season where they looked really good, but in the end, faltered in the playoffs. I'm not sure you saw them. I mean, you got to saw them more up close than I did as a simmer.
There was weeks where the players, I don't know, didn't update or banked all the TP, so that couldn't have helped. A lot of the time, it was only Theodore Walker improving in attributes, so that also could play a part in Rush being preseason favorites, but then only being like third, fourth, fifth best come playoff time. And in general, I think Obalambo and Stone Cold combination was not good enough, of course, and Theodore Walker was like doing basically every part of their offense. And while he was able to perform up to the task, it was like quite laughable at times. And then if your second option is between Pagano and Okeke, I'm not sure if that's helpful. They are fourth options generally on
Do you
another
think
team.
they would have fared different with a dominant big and a defensive wing instead of what they had in two defensive bigs and one dominant wing?
No, I mean, if they had, instead of, I'm not sure if they're cost applicable, but if they had, instead of Stone Cold and Obalambo, if they had Zikov and Rimmer, then they would have been even better and possibly even the best. So
Yeah,
you
fair
don't
enough.
need to have the defensive wing. You just need to have someone else who is well above average on offense, and they definitely did not, because nobody else is offensive or was offensive on their team at all. But yeah, they're going into the new season with nobody and a new coach, new general manager, as Cassie is taking over the SBA Simmer duties and thus has to relinquish, famously, Simmer has to relinquish operations over their team. And yeah, the additions they have is Bunny McBride, yet to be
No, they have a second edition. I'm
Gabriel
just seeing
Finley.
Gabriel Finlay.
Yes, of course. Why is Gabriel Finley notable for the Jokers but not for the Rush? I will never know. Anyways, Gabriel Finley is gonna have 48 minutes of barbecue chicken coming his or her or their way in the upcoming season for the Rush, as they're likely gonna be a mixture between terrible and what the fuck is this?
Yeah. I
Uh,
mean, poor Bunny didn't deserve this on her last year.
could still
But
be traded for sure. There's no restriction on being moved again.
yeah,
So if I was in that position, I sure would hope so. And I guess Los Angeles would also hope so, because what are they doing with Bunny, anyways? Yeah.
yeah.
Thank you for your years of service in Pennsylvania, Bunny. Mexico City Ocelots swapped out Dax Biggs basically for Corkscrew and other pending moves, as we talked about previously. Lost in the semifinals versus the Nightmare. Based on some reactions, was a surprise loss to the Nightmare, but were you surprised or not?
I think it could have gone either way.
Yeah?
the Ocelots are a real solid team. And I mean, adding Corkscrew is giving them even more defense. So, not that surprised that they lost, but also wouldn't have been surprised if they would have won.
Yeah, I was thinking during that, which I presented, the overtime game that sealed the series against your Ironman. I was thinking that maybe it was like, is it arrogant or is it just like doing whatever because it's applicable and everyone's fine with it? But was it like arrogant for the Ocelots to go with this thing where you have Styles and Canterbury the sixth, highly rated prospects, and you just push them down the ladder and try to compete immediately instead? Or was it just like fine in your opinion? Because if Styles and
I mean, it depends on the players if they are open to it, to being pushed down the ladder for the time being. From a team perspective, I mean, sure, you want to take wins and competing for a chip rather sooner than later and with an extensive window as you can get. I'm not sure if Canterbury is really that big of a prospect these days. I mean, was certainly a great pick for them, but hasn't really developed a ton. For Styles, I think she now gets to finally shine this year and seems to still be happy in the team. So I think it was the right decision.
Just you wait until Corkscrew and Malone Freeman come in and push Styles back to the bench.
Or Styles gets traded to Arizona for Freeman. Who knows?
Interesting.
Who knows?
Yeah. That would make Corkscrew number 1 TP on the team though, which is not so good idea.
I mean, he's already is.
Yeah. Oh, it is. Yeah. But yeah, in retrospect, if you were then, let's say, if you came off this stretch as Cornelius Canterbury, the sixth, what would your main thoughts be? Like, why did I make this player?
In the first place, I had a situation similar to this pitch to me when I was drafted with Remus, and I said, no way, I'm not spending more than 1 year on the bench. So I don't think I would have stayed past year 2 if that would have been the case, regardless of how good the team you promised me to be. Because simply I want to see my player play. And I mean, for Canterbury, it might be fine because he seems to be not super active and you're winning. You are not chased a lot to do your stuff because it still works out for the team. But if I would be myself or my usual type of players, then I wouldn't want to stay on the bench.
And you didn't get the success. They didn't make the finals, did they?
No, they didn't.
Yeah, so like there wasn't even that one day where you were waiting for the team to see if you lost 4-0 or 4-1. Yeah, I don't know. Before Hernandez and Styles were drafted, because we were doing that draft show, so we already knew the results ahead of time then. But before that draft happened, it was given to me from 2 separate people that, oh, this is going to ruin the league or whatever. Buddy, or buddies in this case, nothing's ruined. And yeah.
Not yet.
Well, not yet, for sure. But it's going to be more of a natural growth if Hernandez and Styles together in Ocelot's land are going to win a championship or 2 or 3 in the future. It's going to be way more natural than whatever this kickstarting of a dynasty of fucking 10 years of championships in a row was meant to be ahead of time. Hopefully Dax Biggs, former league MVP, is going to have good luck with the Hall of Fame ballots and whatnot and not be left out as he departs not only the Ocelots but the SBA. And we depart the Ocelots and move on to the Miami Wows. Miami Vice made the playoffs last season, beat the Rampage, which was interesting, and then swiftly lost to the Nightmare in a very not competitive series. They have now leaving the team Robert Wadlow. Wadlow? How would they have pronounced his name in the 1800s? I don't know. Wadlow.
Bradlaw.
Wadlow. Robert. Robert. Robert is headed to the Vancouver of the Canadians. And additions. It's not necessarily right, is it, though?
I'm not sure.
Yeah, because they, like Frankie Valentine.
Yeah, Frankie
Is,
Valentine's
yeah.
signed. I think that's the or was traded there. And
Yeah.
Sinkov got there via trade for Shea Alpha.
Yeah, and Danny Williams as on the screen. It is right. Danny Williams was added to the Miami Vice. That's a tongue twist. Fucked it up. But yeah, so was Zikov and Valentine. And yeah, they the Vice are going to be in a different type of holding pattern now that they have a sort of mismatch of players. Of course, led by Gita and Frankie Valentine, but not sure if the rest of the future of the Vice is in order yet. What do you think about the Vice move of Wadlow leaving?
I'm not entirely sure why he had to leave. Maybe it was because he got too expensive. I don't know. I
That's always a
think there
bad
are
excuse,
bids set for the next 2 years or so, because their team is still in the middle of their careers. Will that team go anywhere? I'm not so sure right now. Because it's still the same Vice. But it doesn't feel as good defensively as they used to be. So I don't know. How do you see it? Do you see this
but
better
it's
than the Vice? I
definitely
think they made the semifinals once in the last couple of years with the 3-NT style.
it's definitely not the same Vice, and they have a lot of stuff invested into. And also, yeah, just quickly, you could swap out Wadlow for, let's say, Frankie Valentine, and it would still be cap legal, the team. So, or even Danny Williams by itself. So you could have had on the salary constraint side, you could have had Wadlow if not for Williams. But yeah, I think Gita is sort of like a gimmick player because you have like 310 TP invested into stealing, which is very funny, and I would look to do that myself. But still, it's not like you can expect a player like that to be your number one guy now at 900 TP, because that's like 1/3 of your all your point task has gone to stealing.
Mm-hmm.
So you need at least 2 more seasons, and even then, it's debatable if you still have enough room to be the number one guy. So then you need to have the number one guy be, I don't know, Valentine in this example, but this Valentine is also the sort of defensive-minded one, and yeah, I don't know. I just don't see. It's like I said earlier. At first, it seems like it's in a holding pattern, and I don't know what to expect of their future necessarily.
Please hold.
Yeah, happy to have Wadlow on the team in Vancouver, though. That's nice.
We'll get to that later.
Yeah, will the Vice make the playoffs next season? Yes or no? Just one word answer.
Sorry, what's the question?
Will the Vice make the playoffs next season? Yes or no?
I will go with yes.
Hmm.
I think they're still defensively solid.
Interesting. Milwaukee Maulers. They added DJ Obalambo and Stanley Licht left to the previously mentioned Jokers, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, Maulers also in interesting holding pattern where the high quality players they selected some time ago, like Heta and
Yeah,
Selekis.
Heta also left the team. I think that's not mentioned here.
Oh, right. Yeah, because it's mentioned in the other screen, the team, wherever Heta left for. That's Pittsburgh, I think.
Yeah, it's Pittsburgh.
Yeah,
I
so.
might have been a factor in this.
Yeah. Oh, it says because I'm the assistant general manager, I do not have 10 players signed. Anyways. But yeah, Selek is not at top prospect. Selekis is a really good player, but also making use of the regression bank, so that eats into your capability of being a number one guy out of the point guard position. And Scott Muffin is just on the roster, hasn't developed nearly at all. And then Heta is gone, and now Licht and I guess Willie Jr. are also gone. So I think Obalambo might be part of like a nice future for the Maulers in years 8 and year 9, if there so be one. But right now, it just feels like a refurbishing sort of thing that you need to have a high quality player, which you might be able to trade later. What do you think about the Maulers of the upcoming season?
Maybe they could sneak into the playoffs if they make another free agent pickup. I'm not sure if there's anyone left in free agency though that would push them on this level. I mean, Campbell is a great player, and it sort of feels bad to see that boy's next great player again suffer on a mediocrity in the end, especially in the prime year. But yeah, I mean, I think you covered most of the rest. They have solid players, but no real stars beside Campbell. And not enough to a full starting five yet with those solid players.
Yeah, that is very interesting what you said about that boy's previous player, because this is 4 different general managers and 4 different franchises, but basically same career trajectories and same results between Tony Silvestri and now Dontrell Campbell.
Yeah.
Yeah, not sure why that keeps happening. If you know yourself that boy and you're listening, please let us know. Be very interesting to shout that out next time. But yeah, could sneak into the playoffs if they get another addition, but I think in the free agency pool it's just regressed players like
Yeah.
Rorono Azoro and that sort of stuff. So you really
Yeah,
need
no,
something
there's
extra. Or then
nothing
you
left in the
just
free agency pool that would push them to this level.
there is I'd say there's a chance for them to be like all right anyway, because if you have Selekis, good point guard play, then you have Campbell and Obalambo, they're good, and then you can just put whatever kind of like normal type of filler shit on the
Yeah,
shooting
but
guard
Select
position.
has to play shooting guard right now for the inactive point guard they have. Or no, not inactive, it's
Yeah, you're right.
Colin Porter.
Let's see if the rules are being enforced come the start of next season. New Simmer, new board of directors, new I guess the commissioners are still the same. Yeah, they are. Anyways, let's see. Moving on to the Montreal Monarchs. This must not be the extent of it, because every player we look at somehow is on the way to Montreal this past offseason. So just adding 3 must not be true.
I mean, they also have gotten Zeke, right? Because I remember Mo posting about it in the chat.
Right, yeah. So that's what I'm saying. This must not be all of it. Vincent Valentine also added in because
Exchange for his brother.
because this Frankie
Not
was the one
exchange,
that
but
went to basically exchange, because it's a 3-way exchange in a way. And then Tsukishima, Agent Rengoku, Robs Banks, and Dino Dan. I think that's all of it. Derek Smith, of course, moving on. We'll talk about Derek later. Competed for the SBA Most Valuable Player award this past season. Do you? We talked about last offseason a lot about the comparisons between the Wild and Montreal. I won't go into the specifics, especially because I don't remember. I won't go into the specifics of how Montreal made this offseason happen, but do you think uh, you like the Montreal Monarchs now in comparison to the league and in comparison to their expansion counterparts, Washington?
I mean, we're going to talk about Washington later. I have to say I like the move for Tsukushima to be added to the team. I think he would have been great last season alongside Smith as well. Um, but he should be a good addition, especially considering that like Zenith May Jones, Marcito Jr., Vincent Valentine are all not great defenders, so they need someone to clean up behind them. So I think that's a very pretty good trade, and they have some decent depth going on into the season, so they might break into the playoffs.
Yeah,
And they can maintain this roster for a couple of seasons at least, because
you
they're all
can
still
retain. Yeah,
relatively
yeah,
young.
yeah, you can retain this. Yeah, yeah. I really would have liked Tsukishima even last season. It could have really made their season like.
He could have made a difference for sure.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Could even be 47 and 35 instead. But yeah, Zenit May Jones sort of fallen off compared to Marcelo Jr. Already 163 TP gap between the two players picked last season. And then, well, I guess Rengoku also 18 behind Zenit May Jones. So this is just ED of Ice doing some, I don't know, cheating, I guess. I'm going to go with cheating. Being well ahead of almost everyone in the team in TP. But yeah, I do also like how this team's being built up now. And like I said, I can't remember if they have any of the other assets remaining for the future. But at this point, what sort of assets could you use? You probably instead are gonna be in a position where you need to get rid of players instead of add more players. Of course, those two go hand in hand. But anyways, moving on to the New York Rail. Not really any. Not really any. It's happened again. On one front, where DD of Ice is not cheating at all, definitely for sure, is the general managing of the New York Rail franchise. Jonah Devon, now entering regression, makes Scotty Russell the number one TP player on the New York Rail. Looks actually to be quite correct that there's not really any moves. So
Yeah.
I'm going to give you the floor for a moment just to talk about what sort of players would you be looking for after Devon possibly retires or moves on after this season to support the rest of the roster.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think they're going to be even close to playoffs this season with this roster. What is, however, interesting is to see their three rookies from last year growing alongside each other for the next couple of seasons. But I'm not sure who for you is the most interesting player out of those three.
Well, it's the same. It's Janet Snakehole for sure, because it's Big Snouts player and it's in the weird positions. So it's still the same because the player type is crazy. It's basically the same that I'm doing, but even more like pronounced because it's just like max inside, whatever, fuck it. So yeah, I think it's for sure Janet Snakehole, but Samson Daniels had a lot of good games in the season last season regular season last season. Yeah, that's what I was saying. Even though it's not very flashy, it gave me a lot of what's it called? A lot of belief again in this type of player in a very crowded team, just to have this sort of Mason Washburn, whatever kind of player once more.
Yeah.
So yeah, Gabriel Nocioni remains to be seen. Yeah. It's what were you thinking of? Do you think Nocioni is more interesting or no?
I mean, Daniel still has that 99 perimeter defense going on for him,
Yeah.
so that's interesting for Nocioni. I'm not sure if this is going to be another Montecchia or a player that's going to be more an all-around type of guy, also which includes scoring for me, which would be a little change to the nano players we have seen in the last couple of years.
Don't you
So I
remember when
think
Montecchio scored
Nocioni is
42?
for me the more interesting player to see which direction he goes in the end, because right now he's in the middle of everything and could go either way.
Yeah. I think there was that season when Montecchio played in Vancouver and he scored like 44 points in the first team, but I'm not sure that's what you were thinking of about adding scoring, because that's not necessarily what. Yeah. I would be surprised if the Real also made the playoffs, or I would also be surprised if the Real made playoffs next season, but they're still sort of on the same path, which will get better once Devon is replaced with a player on a more accurate timeline. Oklahoma City Rampage then. Now the question I wanted to pose earlier, because I voted for Khalil Ghanar to win a Rookie of the Year award this season. The Rampage made the playoffs, as mentioned earlier, lost to the Vice in the first round, the bye round, so to speak. They added James McCauliflower and Trevelyan Pagano. Why is that guy still around? Because if you get banned, isn't your player supposed to get retired after the season? Anyway.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, rules change. Get over it. Find a new slant. No, it's a normal color. But yeah, with Oliver Kincaid having definitely the best season of his career. I was gonna go somewhere with this, but it sounded so crazy in my head. Definitely having the best season of his career in the season previous. What was the problem with Oklahoma City Rampage then for Kincaid? What do you think?
I'm honestly not sure. I didn't foresee him dipping below 60% true shooting last season. So that's a big surprise. Wow. Recovering from that shock. I think their defense is still a bit worrisome going to the season. I mean, they have Smith Jr., they have Cauliflower, but Gnar is not a great defender. Redding is not a great defender. Kinshead, I think, is decent, but also not a great one. And they don't really have the firepower yet on the other end to make up for that. So maybe if Gnar had 2 more years under his belt, they could make that work.
Yeah, I guess there is like a possibility where Ganar's off-season diet is just like 93 strength, 93 jumping, and 88 inside or whatever.
Yeah, but he's very far from that right now, right? Looking at his athletics.
But is it impossible or is it possible?
I think it's impossible because that's 45 TPE each to get one from 80 to 90. So he would have to spend alone 90 on strength and jumping. I don't think that's happening.
Yeah, it would be 156 TPE.
Yeah, it's even more than a season, so we could still have the same conversation next year.
Yeah. What about just 80 inside? That's
yeah,
123.
fan of this. Also not a fan of having all 80s in the volumes.
Yeah, but that's
I mean,
how you get
works so well.
votes for Rookie of the Year. That was the other question I wanted to ask you about the Rookie of the Year award. Jurgis Balchunas, of course, was awarded the Rookie of the Year award just then the other day. What did you think of the nomination, and who would have been your pick?
I have to be honest, that was a very wide open Rookie of the Year race. I can't even remember who I put down in the end for it. I think Mercedo had the opportunity to get a lot of touches in Montreal in theory. I'm not sure if he ended up having those because I didn't follow them too closely. Otherwise, you have those two scoring bigs with Money Mitch and Gunnar. With Gunnar, I think being the better defender but not scoring as well as Mitch. And I think that broke him the neck against I forgot his name of the Rookie of the Year. That's bad. Balchunas, yeah. So Balchunas just had good defense, some rebounding, passing with good efficiency. And I think that efficiency was really the deciding factor in the end against Gunnar. That might have swung a couple of votes.
Yeah, it must be it. And I'm usually just like very disinterested in if you have this player with the stat line of like 11, 8, and 8. And then if you luck into a situation where you play most of the minutes, and then you luck into a situation where you shoot 44.8% from 3, and then you get your true shooting up to 637 like Balchunas did, and then you basically automatically win Rookie of the Year. Because there's just like, you did it all. Wow, good job. You set all of your attributes to 70 and then 2 of them to 90. That's pretty good, right? And like Balchunas amassed 2.7 steals per game with 70 stealing. I had a player play the same position, same height, with 99 quickness and 99 stealing, and I never broke like 2.8 steals per game. So fuck this, injustice, and congratulations on the Rookie of the Year award, Jurgis Balchuna. Yeah, but yeah, I think I also like voted for like, I don't know, Jimmy Punky ahead of Balchunas just out of spite. But well, I didn't out of spite vote for Gunnar ahead of Balchunas. That was like a calculated decision. But yeah, anyways. Let's move on to the next team before I get riled up again over the RNG, over the stat lines you might get from year to year. Philadelphia Prowlers, we talked a lot about them already. Departures included Bunny McBride and James McCauliflower, previously mentioned, and they were the ones who added Edric Smith then to replace Bunny McBride. They also added players in the draft, Amin Al-Sada, Danny Zahawi, and Sander Steele, like mentioned previously, and in the playoffs, they did lose to the Ravens, also as mentioned. So yeah, other than specifics of the team, with 3 of their 5 starters going into regression now, and maybe Bert Macklin being elevated into the starting lineup, there's still a chance that you have Sfeel, Alsada, Fittipaldi, Okiki, and Dedrick Smith. You could still put Macklin on the bench, so really think of this, NBN, if you're listening. So just like really, really fucking pay attention to this. I'm trying to give you the knowledge. Let's see, Bert Macklin signed on for 2 more seasons. So you could bench one of the most accomplished single player, sort of like player agencies in the SBA for benching them for 4 seasons straight. Just really think on this. Other than benching Bert Macklin, do you have any thoughts on the Philadelphia Prowlers direction next season? Will they be as good, you think?
It depends. I love to say this word because it also stands for my profession, but yeah, I'm not quite convinced.
Yeah, go on, continue. I'm sorry.
Yeah, sorry, it's about consultants. The answer is always.
Of course, yeah. I was thinking of a profession called dependent, but yeah.
No.
Yeah.
We always say it depends, because it's true. But
what
that's
do you want to
beside the point.
achieve?
I mean, for Fittipaldi, I'm still not convinced. I'm not sure if he might be one of the starters.
Must be.
Or at least get significant minutes. but I wouldn't be a fan of it because I think if you start OKK, Smith, and Macklin and give them minutes, that's your best lineup in the front court that you can put out as the brawlers. In general, there seems to be too many cooks in the kitchen for a team in this era. So we have like the Houston state-of-the-art one scorer and a bunch of people passing to him. It doesn't have to be that extreme, but having Smith, Macklin, Fittipaldi, Zahavi now as the rookie, all wanting to score, all playing pretty similar positions. That doesn't sound too great for the future. I mean, I guess some of them are going to regress and retire now. But is it worth it then to bring them on for this season? We will see. I mean, they could still be a very good team and do some upset here and there, but I don't see them beating, for example, Houston in the setup. How about you?
A guy like me is trying to think how Malone Freeman would fit into this roster right here, because then you could have both Macklin.
If you haven't guessed us, the Malone Freeman free agency show today.
Yeah. You could have both Macklin and Smith on the bench with Alsada, Osfield, Fittipaldi, Okiki, and Freeman. Yeah, so that's sign me up. And then 2 rookies on the bench as well. Wow, fantastic. Yeah, I pretty much agree. Only thing I'm most above all interested is how is Shaquille O'Neal gonna continue after a SBA second team nomination in the year 10? How is this field gonna continue in year 11? And of course, finally seeing Burt Macklin released into the starting lineup, or maybe not. I don't know.
Maybe it's Freeman instead.
Maybe it's Okeke. Maybe it's Zahavi. Remains to be seen. Preseason is going to be very funny when all 3 of them are somehow going to be on the bench. But yeah, I think future is more important to Philadelphia than current day. So in that sense, they are in line with whatever we talked about with Mexico, where it's gone too far, and now you are in the too far portion with the current day. But you can't just like turn around completely and kick all the players into the curb. Quite the opposite. You just got Dedrick Smith as well. So yeah, they're gonna be good, but they're gonna be better in the future if all these players stick around and develop nicely. Then the Pittsburgh Ironman, Roope Niskanen has departed. No idea where. Retirement?
To retirement.
Yeah.
Retirement.
Good riddance. Actually, that was one of the first actual Finnish names in 52 seasons, so it was nice. But yeah, also Roro
What about Lotta Piazza?
It's not a real name. It's two
I don't
Finnish.
care.
Yeah, it's 2 Finnish words, but it's not a real name. Well, it was a real name. It's like basically enshrined into the SBA Hall of Fame or whatever. I don't know. So definitely a real name. Additions include Fairelo Hetta, Dane Swan, and Ethan Cornish, as brought to you by producer Nepto. Nepto is not the full-time producer, I must say, just because we make fun of the producers sometimes. Yeah, the Ironmen made the playoffs. They are looking to make the playoffs once again. Evan Mullins is going to be firing on all cylinders, but who's going to be firing on more cylinders is Jaksa Bozo. What do you think of the Pittsburgh Ironman chances, as you also have a sort of an inside track on things there? How is the season 83 looking out for you guys?
I think it should be a good and fun season. I'm glad that Hetta joined because it's the first time Schnitzel and I play together. So now we just need Stevo to join as well, and we have the German trifecta.
Cryptic Pancake is also back in the SBA, so you could have 4 even.
Oh, right. guys, I think I'm setting up a group chat here.
Yeah. Hold on.
All tampering aside. No, I think it's great that he's there. I think he and Bozo are one of the best front courts in the SBA by far. And now it's all about getting the ball to them and letting them do their thing.
I'm sorry, I was just thinking of the potential Ayo Okiki Malone Freeman front court in Philadelphia. Are you sure about the top front court? But yeah, I'm sorry. I tried to reach for the mute button, but I couldn't. So now I also interrupted you.
No worries. No worries. Yeah, I mean, not much to say about the perimeter. Lopez is the same player he has been for 4 seasons by now. The guards have one job: pass the ball to the bigs. And Mullins, well, he's running around the court doing everything. So let's see.
Oh, I tried it, and I also just realized the mute button here is for the recording, not for the Discord. So regardless, I would have interrupted you if I would have reached it in time. But yeah, I think it's a good squad. Everyone named Mullins always makes me laugh because we've been doing these Mullins-centric shows for some time now. But Bozo, Hetta, Lopez, Mullins, and Dane Swan, I think it has a chance to be a really high quality starting lineup this next season. Offseason tracker San Diego Corsairs record last season 16 and 66. Oh geez. Departures, not any really.
It doesn't seem there were any. I mean, was there even someone who could depart from that team last season?
Yeah, because a lot of players were like inactives, and then it was Jankunas and Jace Hill.
And then they traded for Mac Buckets for I'm not sure what reason.
Yeah, probably because he was available, and it's fun to
Yeah,
tank
but why
your
would
draft
you
position.
send a first round pick for a draft where you're going to not be good for a year 8 player while you have 10 wins?
Also, sort of like bad year 8 player. Like it's not that McBuckets was bad, but he was not like the year 8 player.
He's not going to win you the season, and now he's regressed. I did quite get. I mean, maybe it's for the ticket sales, you know.
Yeah,
the owner
yeah.
gotta make money.
Whatever I said previously still stands for fun. Maybe McBuckets players named McBuckets always find a way to make news, even if they are like completely shit.
One of the OG trash bros, even though he won a positional award, that has to be said. And I think even a championship.
I think only the OG trash bros are literally bros. Simmons and Herman. This guy was like hanging on to this guy's grandfather was hanging on to their coattails. But I don't know. For all the talk in 2019 of how McBuckets was bad,
he was pretty good.
Yeah, it's still very interesting that only worse players have come out of Mr. Splash Man ever since. Like Steven Adebayo, but it was just Steven Adebayo. And
I mean, Abiola made the Hall of Fame, so
Adebayo made the Hall of Fame, or Abiola.
Not Adebayo, Abiola.
Abiola, yeah. Oh yeah, that's the one I was talking about. Abiola. Yeah, Adebayo is way more whatever than Abiola. Abiola is the one that played for Las Vegas. I guess Adebayo also did, but anyways. Yeah. That aside, the real additions are why is there another banned user in the additions? How do they keep getting away with this? And in other news, Stevo has been banned. Yeah, Mateusz Podolski, Stevo not banned. Now part of the future movement in San Diego for a while at least, because it must be extended to be traded in year 3 here. Well, it not must be, but typically is the case. Yeah, so
3-year extension.
Podolski is under contract for the 3 years you mentioned, and then Jankunas is more than likely also to be around for a long time. So there's something there between the two of them, and I'm gonna be interested in seeing not necessarily season 83, but 84, 85, 86, what happens with the San Diego Corsairs? Do you have anything more on them?
No, only that it would have been nice to add another high value player to those two as the core next draft.
Yeah. And would have been fun to add Steve-O to your squad there in Pittsburgh. Anyway, Seattle up next. Record last season, 36 record. That's Swedish. Record. Record is the English word. 36 and 46. Not necessarily much happening there. Added 2 rookies in the form of Robert
And they lost
Gray.
Poldy, so Steve Sky and
Oh yeah,
San
yeah.
Diego.
I added Podolski to the San Diego one, but forgot to add outgoing.
He's not notable enough to be.
Yeah, not really
used as
any.
a rookie,
That
you know?
seems about right. Yeah, but they have their starting lineup in order, regardless of Podolski, as Givafach and Mullins and Clarkson at this point are reaching sort of prime ages. Nicola Grew was very fun to see play last season, and apparently Captain SB, I think, is the user behind Nicola Grew. Also enjoyed their time in the SBA so far, so that's nice. Might be starting again, of course. Yeah, that makes sense. But yeah, with Fiagra and Gray, not two players we necessarily mentioned there, but Leo Fiagra is a first-gen player, and Robert Gray is Kelsey.
It's Kelts. Yeah.
Yeah, all right. Hello. I'm not sure of all the previous attempts of having a player, so after like Leslie Burns for Kelsier.
I think there wasn't one after Leslie, was there?
Sure there was, because that guy like Breeze Ladrian, he was the second
Breeze
one.
was the first.
No, but he tried to have the regression bank player. Yeah. I'm not sure if there's any other. I don't think so.
I don't think so.
Yeah. But yeah, Robert Gray currently in Seattle, and yeah, I think this is also in line with what we talked about in the part of the team last season when Groove was selected. So yeah, Give a Fuck could be in contention for the All SBA first team. Trey Mullins also could be in contention. It's a very highly competitive position, as proven by the Evermore and who's the other player? Theodore Walker of last season. Of course, Walker not in the same shape this upcoming season. But yeah, I don't think Knights will be making that much noise next season, even though they have 2 highly talented players in Mullins and Give a Fuck. Do you agree, disagree?
If Clarkson would be a slightly better offensive player than defensive player, then I could see it, or Lars for that. So their front court defense is really lacking. That's the only thing holding them back right now. It's getting late. I'm feeling it.
Yeah. All right, so thank you everyone for watching.
That's it for now, folks.
Yeah, tune in for part 2 in 11th of October. I think there's some sort of rule in like YouTube community or whatever, like people who make content, that you should never joke about ending the video or whatever, because people are gonna tune off. Just like, because if they didn't pay attention and then they hear the words like, all right, thank you everyone, they're gonna go look out for some more entertainment. So that's interesting. Not sure if you reached this point already in the recording. Thank you very much for listening, and let's see if you reach this point of us realizing the failure of our ways. For the St. Louis Battalion, Benson Royal was traded away from the Washington Wild to... Why doesn't this departure... I guess they're just taking liberties at the production track.
Yeah, I mean, I can't blame them. They win too many moves this offseason.
Yeah, for sure.
Um,
But it's still
I'm not sure
interesting.
who. I mean, Nakamura left,
Yeah,
but
Nakamura is the guy I'm sort of like alluding to, at least.
and then I'm not sure if someone else left.
I don't think so, because the starting lineup is still there. It's
Yeah, yeah. So
Page,
nothing notable, at least.
nothing notable other than the second placed player in the Defensive Player of the Year voting and previous Rookie of the Year. Yeah, I guess. But yeah, Nakamura off and Royal in. Basically, it should give them sort of like a boost, like a shot in the arm, at least for the time being. Remains to be seen what Nakamura achieves elsewhere, but in a sort of like a vacuum, just like on a baseline level, I don't think the battalion are any worse, at least after making this trade.
Uh,
But do you think it was worth it or not? Maybe Nakamura wanted to leave, I don't know.
yeah, I'm pretty sure he wanted to leave because he wanted to play center.
Yeah,
Um,
that makes sense.
yeah, so he wanted to leave. I think it's a good trade still. Royal is a good player. But now it's all on Galizzi and Omega to figure out how they can be effective offensive players because it's all on them
Yeah.
on offense.
And no one other than Benson Royal is signed on yet for next season, so this could be a really the make or break sort of season for St. Louis. So keep an eye on that as they try to improve on their 10-72 record from last year. And
It shouldn't be that hard, right?
yeah, it shouldn't be, but weirder
I
things
mean,
have
with
happened.
Royal, Royal alone probably can't win in like 5 games.
But you need 5 more. Khaleesi is 3, Rage is 1. You still need 2 more. Anyways, moving on to the Toronto Thunderbirds, 42-40 last season, had high hopes of maybe even making the playoffs at some point. After Reiji Wakiri and Jehu King found some harmony on the court and were actually like performing really well at times, but eventually they faltered in the standings, even lost out to the Wild on the first one out spot. But yeah, departures as mentioned, Jehu King and addition of Daryl Bagwell. Bagwell, one of those players, of course, who might be in a sort of a joke period after investing 1/3 of their TP earnings into 3-point shooting. Remains to be seen if that's more valuable than the stealing one of Kalo. Kalo? I think
Yeah,
Kalo
Caleb either.
either. But as of now, I don't think it's gonna upgrade Toronto much at all. It's just gonna take on a different form as compared to the all-around defensive game of Jehu King of previous season. What do you think on the Toronto Thunderbirds? Are they still holding on to what they sort of started previously, just waiting on, I don't know, miracles or then the next period of their franchise?
I would have really loved to see Iwakiri make the playoffs because I have a soft spot for first gens point guards, undersized point guards, and then he's also from Japan. So it's very similar to Maeda
Oh, right.
spending like
Yeah.
5 or 6 years in Colorado without making the playoffs. So it was a real shame to see them miss out. Maybe they make it this season. I mean, they've made a side grade of sorts from King to Bagwell. Probably a slight downgrade because Bagwell doesn't rebound at all, but his defense is still solid and he can shoot the ball a bit. The only thing is that Lexel also has regressed, and with Ralph not being active anymore, there's not going to be any earnings or any of the bank TPE being converted into impact. So they will need some heavy lifting from Iwakiri, Yasuoka, and yeah, that's basically it to push the playoffs because Abenduct is also banking already with the regression bank, so there's not a lot of improvement throughout the year that they are getting out of here.
Yeah, well, Volkovsky is of course improving while Lexul is going down in regression, but that is a killer in a way to not be available for that bank TP. Because that's like, even though Lexul appears as well, yeah, because the bank is not. Yeah, I'm looking at the player. It's still Christian Lexul of last season, just regressed, but yeah, there's still 180 bank TP just for this specific purpose that's currently unused. But meh, alas. I would also like Reiji Wakiri to have more success in his career. Unfortunately, at some of these franchises, you just never, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, some of these franchises you just never get anything. Like Toronto Thunderbirds have like a very long history of like, were they a founding franchise of the SBA?
Thunderbirds? Yeah,
Yeah,
I think so.
let's see.
Yeah, I think they were.
Yeah, so there's a massive amount of like talented players, Hall of Fame players that have gone through the ranks of the Toronto Thunderbirds. And even I, after 5, almost 6 years in the SBA, have not seen these players. Of course, I've seen some of them. I've seen them and I've presented final sims where they've been in the finals a couple of times, I think. But still, it's a very long history of a franchise that currently is also in just this sort of like 20, I don't know, 20 plus season cycle of just, all right, nothing's gonna come out of this, all right, nothing's gonna come out of this, all right, nothing's gonna come out of this. And before that, before Lefty, maybe was it, there was another 10-15 seasons of, all right, nothing's gonna come out of this, when Ace was
Yeah.
disinterested and eventually quit. And yeah, that was basically the last period of the original founding
But
franchise.
wasn't Jay's retirement also, at least as a GM, also around the Reddit meltdown,
Which one?
where all Reddit recruitment got slashed for all sim leagues for a while
Oh,
because of
Jace.
the
Yeah, I
bank
was
thing?
speaking of Ace, like even before you
Ah,
joined, because Ace was the general
okay,
manager
yeah,
up
then
until like 39.
that's before my time.
Yeah, yeah. When Cryptic Pancake and Taiwo went in the same draft, I think maybe later, but that was very long ago. And yeah, Jace
Yeah.
fan, I don't know about. I can't remember. Actually,
Yeah,
maybe
I
I
think
don't
they
even know
weren't
the
good during
specifics
that
about the.
time.
But yeah, Jace fan was their GM for a long time, and they were good, but they were also more bad over the course of the
Yeah, I think
period.
they were mediocre. They were like the Boston Minutemen of old, always at best the 8th seed of the playoffs.
Yeah. If you cut the franchise history into half at season 40, it's pretty cool at first. And then you see the rest of and it's maybe not so cool. It's still cool, but there's nothing cool about, you know. But alas, let's finish up. Oh wait, there's Wild after this. Vancouver Wolverines. I can take care of this one because I'm very inside on these Wolverines. 49 and 33 last season. Very surprisingly, actually, got underway nicely and made the playoffs in the end, which was nice. The result was more than expected in the bye round. Lost to the Inferno. Got a playoff win, which was a good experience. Well, fun. I don't know. Maybe for Jeff. I don't know. He's had a couple of those. Vincent Valentine left for. Which Valentine was for?
Montreal,
Yeah, this one was for Montreal.
I believe.
Yeah, an animated MRI machine left to fill up the gaps in Brooklyn. Yeah, Robert Wadlow also came over, Theodore Walker came over, and James Knight, as mentioned, was selected in the draft. So that pretty much already paints the picture of the starting lineup of next season. And yeah, I really like the team for next season. I don't know about the next 4 seasons, of course, but that's not my problem to fix. But do you think Vancouver are going to improve on their win record from last season? now with these additions?
Yeah, I think you are happy that you don't have to play small forward. I think Wadlow and Ito are a great defensive duo, which reminds me a bit of the Rush of last season, which is very interesting because Walker is now also there. Um, I think the weakest point is for you point guard, but that's in this current economy, not to say. In the current state of the league, that's manageable, I believe. So I think another player of appearance is in order for the Wolverines. And if Wadlow regresses well, which I believe he should, then also at least the next season should still look pretty good.
So yes or no, will they improve on their win record from last season?
It depends. No.
Ah, I
No,
think
I think they should improve.
I think yeah, 50, 51, 52. That seems about right.
Not jumping to 60 wins, but getting
Yeah.
into the 50s.
All right. Let's move on to the Washington Wild, who is in the alphabetical order, of course, the final one of the list of teams we have here. Departed Benson Royal, like mentioned, and added uh, Kelly Nakamura, and then also rookies Stylen Grissom and Jordan Holt. Just trying to look if that's all there is to it. I'm pretty sure that's
Yes, it
right,
is.
because Wu and Nils Lani-Pekkinen, Ukko-Pekko Luulukke, whatever, played there last season. But yeah, now comes the time of comparison, as I proposed earlier, compared to the Monarchs. Of course, like, it's safe to say that Molholt has, with some specific people, a lot more like pull and firmer relationships than general manager of the Wild Ben would have. I'm not sure if that's fully true, but that's just on a surface level, like Doc and who's the other guy? Well, not Has. Has is not here. There was someone else who joined Montreal. Pandar, yeah, of course, and the Idiovais from previous. They all know each other from a long while back. And of course, a lot of people know Ben as well. But surely it's not the same if you're not being involved in running the league the same way as those people
No.
have been. So then comes the time for comparison now with Benson Royal swapped out for Kelly Nakamura and the rookies added on. Do you think the Wild are on a firm track to continue building towards Lamar Cage's prime, or do you think there are some holes that still need to be filled, or else?
I think they're on a good track. The plan certainly seems to be, as you pointed out, to play around Cage. They got him a defense-first counterpart with Nakamura now. I think the only thing they will have to fill is to get some better wings for the future. 2% milk can probably cover the point guard spot or small forward spot, but I would tend to point guard because small forward is even less important. But the rest of the team will have to prove itself if they are really good parts of a future team. I hope, especially the first gen rookies they have, that they break through, but it's no surefire thing at this point. So I like Montreal, to come back to your question earlier. I like Montreal slightly more. I'm not sure if you see it the same way though.
Yeah, well, of course, just based on the contracts, years of experience on the players and the TPE levels, I like Montreal more. But for Washington, I think if you just proposed me this team in sort of text form, I think it's pretty cool and pretty good because you have this full defense monster, and then you have already sort of proven at this stage of career big man, uh, also by J Cool, which is nice. He's always been sort of successful and resilient, and then you just have this cavalcade of other supporting players. But you have your 1 and 2 or 1 and 1 offense and defense already in the front court. Yeah, generally I would just think like this is a good setup, but I would still like Montreal slightly more. But yeah, that goes into all the interpersonal relationships and whatnot. So it's unfair, actually, come to think of it, to really compare the two things. But of course, being expanded at the same time, they will always, or for a while now, draw comparisons to each other, which is fine. About 2% milk you were contemplating, and yeah, I think the player build is very well suited to modern like SBA as a point guard with 3-point shooting, handling, passing, quickness, maybe more steals, and that's just like continue from there on out. That seems to be the norm. So agreed that you can like just fill out the small forward. Hit my lip. Ow. Anyway. Yeah, you can fill out the small forward position better later if needed. Or, well,
If there are small forwards,
there must be at
as
least
you might
one.
know.
They have one other on the roster.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, Jordan Hall, just a 10-year extension, then you have your small forward. But yeah, all right. Next slide is going to bring us back to the front with the draft board, and I'm not going to do that. Instead, I'm going to cut out all the extracurricular stuff and all the other trivia and niceties, and who's the future Hall of Famer in this draft class, as we are already fairly late here with a censored recording time. So yeah, I'm just gonna say thank you very much for listening. Thank you very much, Nepto, for spending time with us once again, for your expertise.
Thanks to you as well. Always a pleasure talking with you and exchanging these ideas.
Yes, and we'll be exchanging more ideas based on the SBA. Always need to get a plug of SBA somehow. But yeah, because there's a league survey going on. And if there's ideas on the draft presentations and any other presentation that happens over the league year, we'll be reading. I'm not sure about Nepto, but I'll be reading over them and taking into account if changes could be made. But yeah, enjoyed that one, and thanks everyone once again for watching, and we'll see you again next offseason. Yippee! Oh, the mic cutoff was